Reservations, but I'm going to have to like jump from this over to the kitchen, so I just want to show of hands who's staying. And I know there's some people who are, 1, 2, 3 of you guys are, Rivka, okay, same people I think I know. But, okay, good.
So about 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So now you're an occupational therapist, that's right.
Okay. So hi guys, you probably have had a full plate about now, no pun intended, or every pun intended. So I'm going to talk just a little bit and then do a little bit of show and tell. And actually, if you guys even want to come up and look at this stuff, or we can pass it around, something a little fun to end the day, little tips and tricks. Because I was just talking with Jessica. Where are you?
Right here. Sorry.
And what were you saying? Tell me what you were saying.
Oh, I just said it's really challenging to want to cook. I don't have a really good relationship with food, and that you make things look easy here. And I have to be gluten-free. And the challenge is when you have a family that can eat normal and doesn't have to be gluten-free versus now I've got to try and make a dinner for everyone that also can accommodate me.
So I guess I'm speaking to the fun aspect of playing with your food. I've played with food for 26 years. Jessica actually used to work with me years ago in the kitchen and taking care of my kids when they were first born. So she knows what we do in our kitchen. We have offered bone broth stocks and soups in our kitchen for 50 years. That's the only way we've ever made our soup, and we always have it with our dinner. So we've been doing this for a while. I mean, intentionally and unintentionally, but first a little bit of background about the philosophy of how I look at food. Years ago, I was starting my doctorate in naturopathy, and somebody handed me a vegetarian book to go through for that. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm serving roast pork loin and sauerbraten and schnitzels, and so I put it down. And somebody said, who was at breakfast, said, well, you got to take a look at this book, because it's exactly what you guys are doing and beyond. And it was Nourishing Traditions, and this is a Bible that, I'll try and keep this short as far as Weston Price goes, but it's really fascinating to me, and it's still fascinating to me about 6 or 7 years, 10 years later. I don't know how long I've been working with this. But it does bone broth stocks and soups. It's all about nutrient density, enzyme-rich, live food that is fun to work with. I mean, I have to say it's fun to work with. You see it bubble, you see it grow, you culture your sourdough, and you can almost feel, I'm going to say, you can almost feel the consciousness from it. So it's fun to work with. It really, really is. Ideally, raw, live, whatever is the best for the enzymes. I'm going to make sure I get that out there. But, cooking is okay, too. And the reason this came about was there was a dentist called Weston Price. He traveled the world in the 30s to 40s, 40s and 50s, just about when processed foods started coming on, because he saw in his dental practice everybody's oral health declining, and he wanted to know why. So he traveled literally all over the world for 10 years and got involved in populations that were truly, truly healthy. Their kids were happy. They had, people into their hundreds. They were no degenerative diseases, no tooth decay, even some of the teeth, and that's why some of these pictures here have a lot of teeth in it, and I always used to hate these pictures, but I get it. He's trying to show you beautiful, healthy people with wide faces, beautiful teeth, and of course, very quickly related that to super health. So he traveled around, he went to Africa, Alaska with the Eskimos. The Swiss Alps was his first trip, and there's still an annual trip to go to the Swiss Alps, even though they really don't make their stuff that way anymore. So he traveled the world trying to find out why they were healthy and what they did. And what I'm going to talk about are the food preparations, which is what he concentrated on and did tons and tons of research on. Took a lot of pictures like this. But a lot of us have had braces, or our teeth have had to come out. Our kids have braces, have to have their wisdom teeth out. These faces that he's showing here are beautiful and wide with room for their teeth. We're supposed to have room for our teeth. And then there's some, this is a really good poster. And I encourage you to take one of these. Sally Fallon actually sent me these herself along with one of her books. I've been a chapter leader for Weston Price, I don't know how many years either. But we do have a chapter here. We're not super active, but we get together and talk about food. And we have a Whole Share Buyers Club, so we buy food together online and get a bunch of stuff that people have been asking me. Do you know where I can get this? Where I can get that? So the Weston Price Foundation was really intriguing to me. And I got this book literally the day the woman told me. Got it online, and it was overwhelming. It talks about things I had never heard of: whey, enzymes. I'm not going to even read what I just showed you, what I just saw, but it was like battered beer brains, but you don't have to eat that. Salad dressings, what's the big deal? And I went on and on. I went, oh my gosh, I don't know where to get this stuff or how to even create it. And so I put up this big sign and said, I am the Western Price chapter leader, and lo and behold, 2 days later, somebody came in and said, I've been doing that all the time. So we started a chapter here. It's Lynn Cameron. She lives over on St. Regis. So we started learning that together and started a chapter. At any rate, these are not to belabor his whole travel issue. He found in all the populations that he studied for 10 years, there were basically 11 common denominators in all those populations of how they prepared their food and how he thought people stayed healthy. And oddly enough, it's the foods that we now are talking about to heal ourselves from everything we've done to us, air, water, processed food, whatever. So I find these very intriguing because to learn how to do these again is fun. You're working with live food a fair amount. You let time, these are processes that you have to turn your head around a little bit and let time do the cooking for you, if that makes sense. Bone broths, you put it in water, you let it simmer, you don't pay attention to it. If you got a crock pot, it's even easier. If you culture vegetables, it takes you 5 minutes to stick it in the perfect pickler or whatever you've got. You leave it alone on the counter, don't even watch it unless you like watching the bubbles go. So it's really fun stuff. The sourdough, you go and feed it every once in a while, it bubbles up and then it'll go down. So it's almost like a little kid's in your kitchen. And they're very forgiving. If you kind of forget about it, no big problem. Because they're sustainable. They're beautiful, sustainable foods. And I'd love to have a whole class on that, but I'm not going to go into that now. So I've got some little tidbits here to talk about. Pretty much all gluten-free. And I'm going to go over some of these, not all. It talks about omega-3s and 6s and the different balance, which we're learning again now, but they were very different then than they are now. I think we're getting back to that. The one I love saying is number 11. Because I remember getting pregnant and going, my mom was a great mom, but she wasn't a great mom. And in terms of having kids, she was like, so now what do I do? She was, I don't know, I didn't even like having kids. So, she loved me, but not having me. Oh, jeez. God bless her. So traditional cultures make provisions for the health of future generations by providing special nutrient-rich animal foods for parents-to-be, pregnant women, and growing children, by proper spacing of children, and by teaching the principles of right diet to the young. Now, if you were getting married and or engaged, married, whatever, you would be considered the couple that would get the sacred foods of the community. In those cases, they didn't have to go searching for organic, organic grass-fed food. They had it right there. And this is when he still found these populations that were right there, growing their own, doing their own, had their animals. So they didn't have to go searching for that, which is number one on this list, which is what we have to go searching for now, which, crazy. But they would give the young couples the sacred foods, the best foods that they thought were nutrient-dense, nutrient-rich, and they would give them to them unconditionally because they were going to be, having the future generations. And in a lot of cases, I don't have to go into the specifics unless you really want to know, but it's like the organ meats and not the muscle meats of an animal, but the organ meats. The muscle meats are actually not considered to be the best part according to traditions. And if you study traditional foods and things. So that I found really, really interesting. What's another one? Enzymes, of course, which I said before, they were super enzyme rich. They had tons more vitamins, tons more minerals. They weren't working with soils that were demineralized. They had enzymes and minerals naturally, but they were also making them in their food. Before refrigeration, they were culturing and fermenting to keep their food over the winter. I love the example. I hated history in high school. But I always liked learning about the trip across the ocean and how fun that would be. And they prevented scurvy, right? And I was thinking, oh yeah, vats of little oranges in their little ship. Well, no, they didn't have vats of little oranges. They had cultured vegetables and sauerkraut. They put cabbages in a big barrel. It stayed the whole time. It wasn't under refrigeration. It was super enzyme rich, vitamin C, vitamin D, and that's how they sailed the seas. So I love that story. The other one is the condiment tray. Anybody go to Grandma's house and there used to be a condiment tray at Thanksgiving? I mean, what's with the condiment tray? Because now we're eating the pickles and everything they're canned. That's great, and if you do that, I think that's wonderful. I don't have the patience for it, but and didn't trust myself actually. But if you culture a food, it is going to stay, and it takes 5 minutes. Because I just got some perfect picklers in, you may have seen them over there. I'm going to show you how simple it is to do that. But that's one of the things they did was a super high enzyme rich because they were keeping their food over the winter. Then we got refrigeration, and you know what happened? We got processed food. It turned into, instead of the enzymes, cultured food is not made with vinegar. Let me just tell you that one in case you don't know. It is not made with vinegar. It tastes like vinegar. Pickles are not made with vinegar, traditionally. They have a little bit of salt. It's magic on the vegetable already, and it just kind of happens. And it's not made with vinegar, but the process makes it taste like vinegar and gives it preservatives and vitamins and minerals more than the vegetable that went in to begin with. So you're already making your food nutrient dense, and it's fun. The other one that's kind of took me a while to get my head wrapped around was the seeds, grains, and nuts are soaked. These days, we just take all that, the wheat, the whatever, you take a seed, throw it out on the ground, it's going to stay there forever until it has the super right conditions. Something is protecting it until it goes boom. And we just take that right from the field and grind it and put it in our diet. So our system is going, wait a minute, that's a little more harsh than I remember generations ago. So we don't treat our grains, nuts, and seeds right anymore either. It's a matter of soaking, sprouting, and culturing if you want to, but there's all differences. And I made some, let's see, what did I make?
They taste really good too, by the way.
Yeah, and the other thing that Weston Price does say is cereal is the absolutely worst thing you can possibly eat. It's extruded, it's done a lot of things too. So I want to show you can make your own cereal really, really easily. And my kids aren't here, are they? They don't eat a lot of my food, but I sneak it in, and they've been asking for cereal. So I know it's good when they do that. And the other thing is condiments. I want to just mention, again, I'm kind of jumping around, but I want to mention key points because I know you guys have probably had quite a bit today. The condiments, not only pickles, but things like ketchup, mustard. Well, mayonnaise really isn't fermented, but all those condiments that go on your hamburgers, your hot dogs, originally they were made fermented. They were made so that you had just a little bit, just like a pickle. You don't need, a whole jar. Well, some people eat jars of pickles. A little pickle on the side, a little mustard or ketchup on the side, and it helps you digest the food that you were eating. So that fermented ketchup is going to help you digest the hamburger that you're eating, whether it's grass-fed or not. So little things like that can be done. You can start with little steps. Start with the condiments. Start with the fermenting. I'm gonna back away from this just to show you this book, which Sally sent me because the publisher didn't send my things. I didn't get her to sign it, but this one is heavy duty. If you think you're really into it, go for it, and you're gonna have this book forever, ever, ever. I still look how dog-eared it is. This one says for children, don't listen to it. It's cool. It has really simple pictures, simple, here's the ingredients, here's how you do it. And it's really simple. So if you're going to start with anything, in this case, I would recommend this one for yourself. Kids too, if you really have to have an excuse, but it's a really cool one. I haven't seen this one until a few days ago, and it's awesome. I also encourage you to pick up these, again, from the foundation. It tells more about that, and they're a real advocate for real food and healthy food. So I would, if you're interested in joining, it's only like $40 a year or something, and you get all sorts of stuff for it, and you promote healthy food.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the vinegar thing.
Okay, I'm going to go back and show you.
Well, I was just wondering, so you don't add vinegar, and it preserves itself with that vinegar taste. Then when you cook it, is it like you added a lot of vinegar?
Well, ideally, you don't want to cook, whatever you're culturing, you don't want to cook it
Oh,
because you're going to kill those enzymes. Now, it's still going to be better if you bought it in the store. So, you know, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But the ideal thing is that you want the enzymes that you just created.
so it's room temperature, and you eat it like that.
Yeah, and then, well, let me do this for you. Let's just do it. I brought some carrots and what did I bring? A little kale to throw in there. And some ginger. Yeah. But it takes... The magic is that the the bacteria that it needs to do this reaction is on most every fruit and vegetable already. You don't have to go searching for some chemical to add. The only thing you need to start the reaction is salt. So it's cool. So, and this is how easy it is. It's about, there is some kind of, I'm terrible with recipes, so I can't spin them back. But to do a cultured, well, normally I would probably do one of these jars. I've got the wide mess right there, so just to show you, I'll have to cut my carrots down.
How do you
okay.
decide what you're going to put in there? Is that ginger?
Well, this is ginger. I've got some carrots and I've got some ginger, so I'm going to do some gingered carrots. You can do cabbage and carrots and have a fermented coleslaw. You can call it sauerkraut if you want to, and you can warm it. It doesn't mean you have to eat it cold.
Okay.
But now think of a Reuben. That originally a Reuben sandwich was fermented and cultured rye bread. Corned beef maybe, so they probably preserved their beef, and sauerkraut. But it wasn't the cooked canned sauerkraut. It was something like this that they put on the sandwich. The rye bread was already kind of pre-digested, really easy on your stomach. This was helping you digest the beef. And that's how the food of these traditional cultures worked in your body. It wasn't the hard to digest thing. They already kind of pre-digested. So that's the type of thing that, just fascinates me. There's tons of recipes you can use, a lot of stuff. You can culture beets, you can culture, you can put apples in with your cabbage. There's tons and tons of recipes, and there's tons online too.
Okay.
So pretty much all you need, I'm just going to chunk this really easy to kind of go with timing here. I pre-cut up some carrots. This is asparagus, by the way, if you're looking at it. I did some asparagus. And what I did was cultured it and then added some balsamic vinegar, only because asparagus and balsamic, pull it out, it's pretty cool. So I cultured it first, but then I did add vinegar, not because I was culturing it, but because I just thought it would taste even better. So that's stored in here. And I think it's about a teaspoon to like a quart of salt. There is kind of a recipe, and if you don't need this to culture. It's just a whole lot of fun, and it works. In 4 days, you're going to have cultured something. So it's just fun.
So you use the Himalayan salt?
Yeah.
Okay.
I use kosher salt too. That works. Just try not to use regular iodized table salt. You want the minerals in your salt too. So I'm just going to pack that in. And with cabbage, like I did with that when I'm cutting the carrots, with cabbage like that, you just shove and shove and shove. And once you put the salt in, the juices automatically come out, so you don't have to add water. With carrots or something, yeah, the juice comes out all on its own. You just kind of let it come out, and you don't have to add extra water.
You're making it sound so easy, Cathy.
That's what I mean.
Oh my gosh.
It seems so easy.
It's fun.
Is this so? It's supposed to taste sour or not? Like, because I was trying this cultured cabbage thing. This recipe I found online and the starter kit and everything, and I put it in the, put it in the dark cupboard for like a month. And the first 2 weeks I ate it and it was really hard, and I thought this doesn't taste right at all. So it wasn't even close to being ready. Mm-hmm. And after a month, it tasted softer, so I figured it's something, but it didn't actually taste sour. Is it supposed to taste sour?
Might not have cultured. It will, but it goes to degrees. Like sometimes, like if you're trying to trick your kids and eating carrots and stuff, you're not going to want to go 10 days on the carrots and make it really strong. Just do it for a few days and then have them eat it. Go, oh yeah, really cool. Although kids really like pickled stuff, if you've noticed. Whenever you have kids,
so I should take it out of the fridge and maybe put it in the cupboard longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing for some people to realize. You don't need to put it in the fridge. it needs
Right.
that
Needs
reaction.
the room temperature, right?
Yeah, it needs it. These kefir grains.
I just
that I'm
thought after a
showing you.
month it should be ready, but
Yeah,
maybe not.
It sounds like it should.
I put water in it though.
Yeah, this one you can smell now. But I was going to get it out, and yeah, at first when you crack it, it does smell like sauerkraut. But I'm gonna leave this here, so if anybody wants to kind of look at it, you can. So because I really want it packed like the sauerkraut was, I'm gonna get as many carrot sticks as I can in there. But if I don't, I had something I was gonna shove in some kale just to take up the space. The reaction is an anaerobic reaction, meaning you don't want air coming in while it's doing its thing. And in this, it usually takes a couple days to get started with your little, whatever it's called there. The distiller.
Oh.
Just say you're making distilled carrots.
Gas releaser.
Yeah, gas release.
So that just makes it faster, you said?
Well, this actually, since the reaction is anaerobic, it will make air bubbles, and you want that out, but you don't want oxygen in
Oh, okay.
to stop it.
So it's a
And
one-way valve situation.
it's a one-way valve. Yeah, it stops it. You'll see in old recipes just crocks and all that sort of thing with a plate on it, and you can. But somebody was mentioning too, wasn't it you? Said don't like do it because I don't like skimming it off. This takes away that yicky stuff that people will probably not do if they see for the first time out. It's okay, but you don't until you get used to working with live cultures and vegetables. You don't like seeing that stuff. So I'm just going to pack some of this in here just because I want to take up some space and I'm too lazy to pack it all together. And, I know what I was going to do too. Don't waste your kale. These are kale stems. Yeah. So obviously I took the kale off the stems. Guess what you can culture? Sustainable food. Don't waste it. Stick them in your carrots or just do kale sticks with your, have a little bucket. You could culture those and have snacks. So, and I'm going to do this kind of fast so you can see other things. But it also has to have a place for that air to be. You don't want it totally locked up. So this you have to fit down, which I may have to cut those out. That's why they usually have a bigger one. That needs to fit down. Oh, it's going to go. So that lets the air out without the liquid spouting out my little fermenter thing. This needs to have water in it because it's not like the cabbage that makes its own juice. The carrots, obviously, the juice isn't going to come right out if I squeeze it. With other ones, it does. So I'm going to put probably a teaspoon or so in there, and I'm going to take water right out of that thing since I have it so I can show you. And I'm just going to fill it mostly. I'm not going to go back and forth here, so I'll tell you how it's supposed to be and then see how it ends up.
Now, does it make a different flavor? Does that have lemon in it?
Sorry, yeah, well, it may not, but usually I would not put lemon water in. So this needs to kind of shove down.
Is it dangerous for the juice to touch the metal cap? Like, is it
nope,
rusted or
these
anything?
kind of come with them.
Okay.
I think that, yep, they're still coming with the metal. I use ceramic too, but I mean, that works. So, and then that goes right on. The water should be right up. Your cap just goes on, and those kits fit a ball jar. I don't know if I'm screwing this down because that needs to go down just a little bit more. I don't know if I can shove it. But anyway, it screws on there, and then you've got you let this sit on the counter 4 days.
Oh, it doesn't have to be dark?
No, well, the dark kills some, but if you're going to fret about it, don't worry about it. If I'm going to forget it. If I put it out of my sight, I used to have things in my kitchen, my old ice buckets and everything. I'd stick them in there, but I'd forget about them. So dark if you can, but if you're going to forget about it, stick it on in your counter. It's still going to work. Some of the enzymes and vitamins might disappear, but you're going to get more than you had in the first place. So just stick it on your counter, and you're going to see bubbles. In 4 days, pretty much 4 days, depending on the temperature. If it's really warm, you might end up doing it in 3, but I put it kind of on my stovetop. And 4 days later, just crack it open, and you're going to have cultured carrots. It really is that simple.
And then you take them and you can stick them in another jar to store. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, you can. I mean, this is a ball jar, so just put another cap on it, and you're done.
Oh.
Okay. So I do have a huge crop over in the lodge that holds like 5 cabbages, and it has a special seal on it. That takes 3 weeks, but this is super. I mean, how many minutes did it take us? With salt, the magic is already there, and then in 4 days you've got cultured stuff. So that's that one.
So are you precise in measuring out your salt? Because I saw you do this.
Well, no, I think it'll work.
I look at a book and I'm like, oh, I have to really measure. Like,
Yeah,
I
play with
think
it.
way
Don't
too much.
go crazy. Play with your food.
I just
Play
remind
with it.
myself that primitive cultures did this. They didn't have a set of measuring spoons. And
Yeah, I
they
mean, they
didn't
kind
have,
of knew, and you can look at the recipe and you kind of know. I mean, you can. This stuff is pretty forgiving because, believe me, I take it to the limits all the time to see how much I can get away with.
Okay.
I really do. So it's pretty forgiving. These are kefir grains, the grape kefir over here. And I can pass these around too if you want. Just want to make sure they're not going to leak on you. These are called Japanese water crystals or water kefir grains. There's 2 different kind of kefirs. One is dairy and one is basically water and juice.
Here, I'll
What is it, kefir? Like a grape?
Kefir is another kind of culture. This is all kind of forms of culturing. Now this, you've got your magic right in the, like little minute bacteria you can't even see on those vegetables. So this is a bigger form of that.
Oh, it's a bacteria.
Well,
Oh.
yeah.
Well, that's not a nice thing to say, right?
Yeah, nobody likes to know. Yeah, bacteria. You are all bacteria anyway. I'm sure everybody kind of knows that by now. We're what % bacteria in our gut and everything. We are really refeeding our gut and our.
Okay.
But this is culturing things to process, pre-digest, add more vitamins and enzymes. Those are really easy too. I mean, to really get it fast. I would drain that out until there was an inch of it left because you want kind of the starter. There's the starter in there right in the grains. I just dumped some organic grape juice in. I have a warm kitchen when I'm using it. 24 hours, I have grape soda that's probiotic. So that's how easy that is. To really do it right, you should really do water. You should ferment and culture water. With like brown sugar and molasses for the minerals, and those grains grow. They're another thing that are sustainable. They will grow. You can share them. Sourdough grows. You share it, just like the friendship bread. Kombucha grow. You share them. They're sustainable food that you really can't get rid of unless you're really, really bad to them. And I've been. And so, so what, you forget about them in a few days, they're going to come back. They just are fun, sustainable foods that are kind of like a little puppy dog waiting for you to just take care of it and take it out to play. So it's really kind of fun. This is a kefir grain. Let's see if I can get a kefir grain out here. These are this is the dairy kefir. So that does say juice soda. That makes probiotic fizzy soda. It will fizz juice and make it carbonated, fizzy, good for your.
Are there people that can't tolerate that?
You have to go.
Because you said go slow, but some people.
I would go slow if you got
acid
because you guys want to chime in here. If you're compromised to begin with, just it's like shoving too much of a good thing down all at once, and it's going to go boom, and you're going to get a reaction.
Okay.
I started out with, I think, dairy kefir and then water kefir, and I did a little bit of a time. Now I can pretty much drink a quart.
Wow.
But, and there is a slight amount of alcohol in these, in like that reaction. It's the whole reaction of lactofermentation. There is a touch of alcohol. But even if, so it'll go to really fun stuff like that, which you can tell, it's not sweet. The bacteria has eaten the sugar. The sugar is for the bacteria, and the probiotics and everything are for you. So you're giving it sugar to eat, but it's transforming the sugar for you. Even in a dairy grain, it transforms the milk sugar a fair amount. These guys look like a soft cauliflower piece. Do you want to pass this? Do you guys want to pass that around? Sure. That's a kefir grain. And that's going to come out like if anybody had the dairy kefir that I bought over there. This is kefir as well, which again just takes a few days on your counter. It's not going to react if it's cold. And I had another one here.
No,
No, I didn't bring another one. And again, it's sustainable. If this goes too far, if you want it, so it's like drinkable yogurt, only it has like 100 times more good stuff in it than actually yogurt does. So kefir is really cool if you can tolerate dairy. And if it goes too far, it will get hard. It will separate into kefir, cheese, and whey. The whey you actually use to ferment vegetables. It jump starts the reaction. The cheese you actually use as cream cheese, yogurt, whatever. Same thing with yogurt. I'm going to do the same thing. This, and again, you don't need one of these, but it works. This is a really fine sieve. So this is going to go here. This is yogurt that I made, and typically the juice on the yogurt is going to, that's the way that you can use to culture vegetables. So you don't have to buy it. You can, even if it's not organic, it's a just use it. But if you have either yogurt that's separated or has too much whey, or you're looking for some cream cheese, yogurt cheese, or kefir that just went too far, what do you think the first cheesecake was? It was milk that separated into curds and whey. You use the curds to make a cheesecake, to make whatever. This thing, if you put it in here, and this is it's pretty runny. It has nothing in it but yogurt and pure wonderful milk. That is going to drain into there. It's going to give me yogurt cheese, and I can use that as a cultured cream cheese on a cracker or whatever you use it on. So you can make even cheese with that simple. And it's sustainable. I love that part of it. Okay, what else can we talk about? Anybody have questions on the culturing?
Making
I don't
your
want
own
to belabor
ketchup.
Yeah,
You would
that's-
squish up the tomatoes. And
Yep. Well, this is organic ketchup, and that's great, but it's, in a jar, probably has to be killed and pasteurized and bottled and all that sort of thing. I thought I brought my tomato paste, but I did not. This is one I did already, but I'll pretend that it's not yet. Can you see beyond my, probably can't see beyond my stuff here, can you? Fun stuff. So you take some tomato paste, organic, ideally. You take some tomato paste, and you just throw it in probably a jar, jar with a lid. And we're gonna, I didn't bring my whey over because I couldn't carry all that much, but say this separated, okay? And you've got whey on top, or you got whey off your yogurt, or even apple cider vinegar. I don't have whey, so I'm gonna use apple cider vinegar. That'll do it too. If it's live stuff. Make salad and stuff. Put a little in there, stir it up, put your seasonings in. If you want seasonings, however you want your ketchup, stir it up, put it in a jar, put it on your counter for 3 or 4 days. It's going to work, and it's going to come, then that will help you digest the hamburger that you're going to have. Nope, that doesn't need that. No, just the veggies and stuff. That doesn't need that. It'll do it all on its own.
So you just cover it with a tight lid?
Yeah, just cover it, yeah.
Do you refrigerate it after? Or
Afterwards, yes. Yeah, refrigerate everything afterwards, because then it'll stay. The reaction will still go slowly, so depending on how crunchy or how sour you like anything, you can stop it a little bit ahead. But sauerkraut, any cultured vegetable is going to stay the whole winter. It was designed to do that, to get you through the winter. But by the end of the winter, it's going to be softer and mushier, but it's still going to be good in theory. So.
it sounds so appealing. Why did anybody ever do canning instead?
Yeah, canning's good. We ended up forgetting about all this and thinking, well, we don't need to do this. We're going to can it and process it, and then the government says we have to kill everything to give it to somebody else. But you can work with live foods for your own family. So fun stuff. The other thing about the soaking and the sprouting, I soak some oatmeal because that makes it softer. And actually, I put a little kefir in mine. If I do dairy, I can put a little kefir in there overnight. It gets soft in the morning. You warm it up just a little bit, and you can digest it a lot better than if it was oats just out of the box. So I have these oats, and I soaked and sprouted. I drove my family crazy this week. I had things all over sprouting and soaking and drying and whatever. But I soaked some organic sunflower seeds. So I'm just going to throw some of those in there. And I have some shredded coconut in here, and some other sunflowers.
So the seeds are raw, right?
They're raw, and then they're soaked to get the phytic acid, all that protective stuff that's in that seed, making it preserve itself to grow into a seed, is not good for our stomach. So we want to get that off of there. It makes the minerals and vitamins much more bioavailable to our stomach, easier to digest.
Till they sprout?
Till they sprout, but it doesn't have to be, I mean, these have sprouted quite a bit because it's been a few days. But it doesn't have to be that sprouted. When a seed has sprouted, it's the highest energy, so I'm told, it's the highest energy of the plant that it ever will be. So and don't think you have to put sprouts on a salad and that's the end of it. Put them in things. You can grind them up and put them in muffins. If you do bake them, you're going to kill the enzymes, but there's still good stuff in there, better than it was. So with this, I'm just going to mix it up. If I had some coconut oil, I throw this in, or butter. And then ideally you dehydrate it. You can put it in the oven if you really want something really quick. This is going to be one of these. Just put it on a sheet. Dehydrator is great because you're not killing the enzymes and the, vitamins and minerals. But if you, like I said, if you need to put it in the oven, dehydrate it. It's better than if you didn't do it at all. So here's a bar. So those are fun. And you can do those with all gluten-free grains, any, nuts, fruits that you want to, and make those up yourself. Here's another one with oats. I just put it, that was my demo that I started cutting without the seeds. I just put it on a cookie sheet. Again, a dehydrator is wonderful. It's a great investment because it gives you more. You can cut it up, or you can eat it as a bar, or dehydrate it a little bit more, crunch it up, and you have your own cereal. So this has been soaked with a little bit of kefir and dried. And again, let time do your cooking for you. Just set it aside. I have an oven that's a gas oven, so it's warm inside. So I just stick it in there, and I don't even know what temperature it's at, but it'll dehydrate it a little bit better. I do have a dehydrator. If I'm in a hurry, then when the oven's on, I'll just throw the pan in so I have something better than not. Okay. So what else we got? Oh, salad dressings. Another thing that's actually supposed to be cultured when you eat it is apple cider vinegar. Again, most of the commercial stuff is killed and bottled and doesn't have anything that it used to have in it. If you want to take apple cores and throw them in a jar, maybe with a little bit of whey, even if you don't, let them sit there and see what happens. Play with it. Just go home and do an experiment. You're going to end up with apple cider vinegar for the most part. It'll get a little fuzzy and fizzy, and you'll wonder what it's doing, but it'll turn to vinegar. Just like everything else, if it goes far enough, you're going to end up with a vinegar taste. But there's a couple of companies that still can sell, raw, unfiltered probiotic apple cider vinegar. I mean, Norris carries it. Bragg's is one of them. But another tonic that you can make for yourself is salad dressing. I used to go to this woman's house down the road. I grew up in Lake Clear. And I used to go to this woman's house around 5:30. I knew when she had dinner, just so she'd invite me. And she would do this every single night. She would do this. Yeah, I don't know what vinegar she used. Didn't pay attention at that age. But she would do this. She had a salad every night that I was there anyway. She would do this. This is organic sunflower oil. That's just apple cider vinegar. This is an organic seasoning mix. Didn't even mix it myself. She'd do that. A little bit of Himalayan salt or whatever salt you've got. This is a little dill. If you want a little green in there, it doesn't matter. And she'd go like this and dump it on the salad. You made your salad a tonic in 2 seconds just by doing that. So you don't have to really cook a lot to add a lot into the meal that you're, cooking or not cooking. If you want to add, one thing that I've done for a number of years now is cook with essential oils. It adds a higher vibration to the food, adds a little bit more oomph. It's kind of the soul of the plant, I feel. And only cook with really high-grade essential oils and things that you would want to put in. Don't go cooking with pine. I mean, you can have pine tea, but for the most part, this is fennel. I use lemon, I use lemongrass, I use the beef. If anybody had the beef today, that had black pepper essential oil in there. This is one of my favorite to add to a sauce. You can't, I'm gonna pass that around. It's a very earthy, wonderful smell, I think. And I'm not a pepper freak, but I really like that, and it can add to your bone broth if you're not getting a lot of flavor out of your bone broth or didn't put a lot of stuff in it. At the end, add a couple drops of essential oil. I think in the chicken, I had lemon essential oil and fennel, and turmeric, but with the little bottles of essential oil. In the beef, I had black pepper and fennel in the veggie, I think. I had fennel in the veggie.
So Pat, do you sell those little guys here too?
I do have some, and I'm also a distributor. I don't hard sell, but when people want to get it, it helps me get mine that I want to use. So I'm happy to join in.
Okay.
So and I cook with essential oils too. At the end of, because you really don't want to, again, anything live. And the other tip is if you're cooking and killing, not to say it very badly, but if you're cooking and killing, you have something live, just add it at the end. If you're cooking bone broth or whatever else, if you want something live in there, just add it at the end and put the life back into it, basically. With a lot of things. And like with cream or something, sometimes I'll make pudding, and you have to cook it, but I might add a little bit of raw cream back in, just to add the raw again or something, just for an example. So I try to add raw back in even if I'm cooking. Yeah.
And you mentioned in another class that you should put some vinegar in the bone broth too. It does something to bring out the
Yes.
the bone.
Yeah. He was talking. Did you say add vinegar to the bone broth?
That's what you had said, right? Or would you add it?
Yeah. Vinegar or you want to extract the minerals and the calcium, the minerals, everything out of the bone. So you need a little bit of acid in there, and it doesn't take much. I splash it. There's probably some form of protocol.
I tried making some bone broth, and I noticed when I was cooking the bones at first, there was like this white film on the stock, and my mom's like, "Oh, you're supposed to skim that off and throw it out."
Yeah,
Is that
that's
true, or do you just mix it?
Yeah, they said when the foamy stuff, skim it off. It's impurities. If you
so
see it, do it. But if you miss that stage, it's okay. But if you see it, yeah, skim it off. And we were talking about bone broth too. If you've got a huge knuckle bone, that can go for days. If you have chicken bones with a little bit of what I do when I get chicken bones through Whole Share, we can get chicken bones. It's like really cheap. It's like a secret. With lots of meat on it, but you're buying bones. Like 40 pounds of bones cost $10. Has lots of chicken on it. So I do that. I do it in stages. I'll do that first stage, so I cook the meat, but don't overcook the meat, and then I take the meat off, put the bones back in, do another stage of bones, and make a nice, savory stock. And then I might drain that off and do it again, just because I know there's some goodness in there, but it's not necessarily going to be, super flavor. But I'm not going to throw it away again because there's still good stuff there. So I keep them as long as I get it to go. So,
And I find the grass-fed and the pastured chicken don't seem to have the scummy stuff as if I bought it from Price Chopper or some other place. It's amazing the difference.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Somebody asked what a chaga was. This is a chaga. It's called a mushroom, but it's not a mushroom. Super high antioxidant, they call it mushrooms, but it's, like I said, it's not. It's this is what it looks like on a tree. We are so lucky to have it in the Adirondacks. It only grows on the birch tree. When you're out in the woods and near a tree that you can, not get caught for chunking it off. It will be, you'll know because on the inside it'll be orange. This came from one of my trees out there. This is people say you can, take one of these things and scrape and make tea out of it, which you can. I throw this in a gallon of water, and I watch the water get dark, just like a regular tea. Pour it off, put more water in, and this chunk is if sold on the market, is super expensive. But we have access to the best thing going on a birch tree. So look for some chocolates. Somebody wants to know what that was.
Correct. I thought I read that. Because you'll see them in the woods, but it might be a dying tree.
It's probably a dying tree. It's been in there, but it's helping the tree decompose.
Okay.
And it's this I mean, I don't know for sure, and I don't know how long it takes to grow a child, but like long time. This
Yeah.
might be 10 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
Takes a long, long time, so it's not super sustainable. But when you can get it, it lasts a long, long time. Has a lot of melatonin in it, a lot of pigment. So it's really free tea in the Adirondacks. It's one of the highest level teas you can be drinking.
So you only can take it from the live plant, is that what you're saying, or from a dead vine?
You can buy it. You can buy it in bottles.
No, I'm saying what, like she said, if you see a dead,
Well, it's
birch
you,
tree laying
I mean-
there, can you go and cut it off, or it won't?
it's the tree is still going to be living. I mean, I've only started.
Yeah.
The tree is going to be dying, but it's going to be standing. It's not going to be like fungus on the ground, unless it just fell over.
So whether the birch tree is alive or dead, you can still harvest the chaga.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I mean, I just took a little piece so it keeps growing. I don't think it harms the plant, but it's. I mean, they harvest this stuff, and I just mention it because we are so lucky in the Adirondacks to have access to it, and so you should really kind of look for chaga.
Chaga was one of those things that I did not muscle test well for. It's really interesting. I don't know what it is, but my body's like, don't want it. I did try it, and I was like, whoa. Maybe it was just too strong for me at the time.
I tend to go in phases. I'll go like all kefir, grape kefir for a while, or kefir. Then I'll go all dairy kefir for a while, and then I'll go all chaga for a while and drink a lot. But if I could only play with one of these segments at a time and learn that, and then I had to stop and go to the other one and go, okay, let me play with this until I got to be able to do a couple at a time. And now my kitchen looks like a science experiment. It's fun. I mean, I have fun. Ernest, when you walk out of the lodge, go into the dining room and look up on what used to be our old stage. That's like my culturing. I mean, I had so many places in the kitchen that really shouldn't have been there. That we created my own kind of demo and culture kitchen and sprouting and dehydrators and stuff like that. But just build it up, and play. Play with it.
And the oats, are they the steel cut oats?
I think these were just good old. These were good old Quaker oats
Oh, okay.
that I did. I have steel cut oats there. I mean, my theory with the food is, best, better, and okay. Do the best you can, but if you do these preparations as well, then it's better than getting something with additives in it. So if you can buy organic and all of that good stuff, that's wonderful. My thought when you do these preparations, the organic is not more expensive because the preparations you're doing are sustainable. So once you get to know this process, you can feel that you can buy better quality because it doesn't take as much quantity to eat it. So it's nutrient dense. So if you're making it nutrient dense and it's nutrient dense in theory to begin with, some organic food isn't any better than other when you test it out. But these actually, like culturing, this is going to add more B's, C's, and everything else in the carrot that went in it in the first place once you culture it.
That was what I was going to say. So if I'm doing shakes in the morning, once I do all the thing with the bubbler and all that, then it's even better to put into a shake?
I don't know if I put it in a shake. But you can.
Might be a little sour.
So, yeah.
It'd be
If
sour.
It continues to become more nutrient
Yeah.
dense.
If you want to drink
Having
that,
it as a
fine.
smoothie or a shake will,
Yeah.
Because for me, for work, it's about ease. So I don't have time to sit and eat. If I can just chop it and then go.
Jessica?
I'm really
mindful
lazy.
time.
Wasn't there a presentation about that?
Mindful.
Right. Okay, drink quickly and then go. But I thought that would be.
Well, it is going to be sour. I mean, this is going to be, it's going to be sour.
It's like putting kraut in there.
But
Yeah.
then I could just add some.
You can try it. Let me know.
You might have to eat it. You might have to eat it.
Why not? You want to
Love
stop.
for us.
Right, but that's the thing is for me, it stresses me out to think this could happen, and you're saying play with it, but I would be the one to really measure the salt, really.
And the first few times out, you do that if it makes you feel better that you got it just right.
Okay.
But it's really forgiving, so I think it is. I guess I played it.
Karen, that's a whole other chapter for
Blame-
me. We'll work on that another day.
Wouldn't you be able to make pickles and it's fast, you grab one, you're eating it, you're going
Yeah, that would
to
be
your
the best
car.
thing, to make these and take them and grab and go and crunch them.
Okay.
If you want to drink it, by all means. I mean, some people drink apple cider vinegar because it's a tonic, so
Right.
it's not, yeah. Take a shot. Get a sugar glass. Take a shot in the morning.
It'll wake you up.
Cathy, how much salt do you actually need to get it going? I find most foods are too salty for me. I don't like a lot of salt.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, the salt starts the reaction. It's not.
It doesn't taste salty to me.
Yeah, it's probably in there. I just kind of do it now, so I don't even know. But I think it's like a teaspoon to a quart. I think it's something like that.
The reason
Look
I-
online; it'll have the exact. It'll have the exact.
That's what I did.
Because
That's
if you
still
do have
salty?
too much, it's not going to go, and if not enough, it's not going to go. So you do have to have some balance there in the middle
Okay.
to play.
I just bought one tablespoon
A tablespoon for a quart.
for a little sauerkraut.
What is it,
For a
like per quart?
I'll have to work on it.
Okay.
And I mean, quite frankly, the older the vegetable, probably the little bit more you're going to need to get it going. But like I said, there's a balance in there, so you really don't have to, you don't.
So you mentioned 4 days, is that like kind of average?
That's average.
4 days?
Yeah.
And then you just replace it with the other lid?
Yep.
And then refrigerate it to
Right.
stop the process?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the whole thing is good, the vegetables and the juice, whatever juice is in
Yep.
there?
And the juice actually is a preservative, so I use it.
So are they equally as good, eating the vegetable that's inside?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's for the vegetable,
The
but the
vegetable,
juice is good, and it will start and use it to start another, like to jumpstart another quart, or if you want to preserve, I don't know, if you want to preserve apples on the counter for don't dump it out if you can think of a reason to keep it to start another reaction or to preserve something else that you just want to put in a jar and don't want to go through the process, something softer that I never had luck with beets. They're softer. So I might try just playing around, taking the juice, throw it in the beets, and if I knew I was going to eat them, soon. It's a preservative and it still has good stuff in it. So yeah, to not throw it, I don't like to throw out anything that I know is still alive or still has stuff in it.
I was kind of lazy, and when you go through like a good jar of pickles and stuff, and I had all the water and all the veggies left in it, I just went and put the fresh ones and closed it up, and it did the same thing. I left it in the closet after about a few weeks.
And see, that was probably made with vinegar, so it's probably not probiotic. But if you made them like this, it would be.
I don't know, I wasn't reading the label, but
Yeah.
I really liked the pickles. I had at home. I couldn't get another jar of them.
And you can flavor it any way you want, so it's not stuff.
Your courses, because it's 5:30.
Oh, okay.
And then your purple thing, just let them know that
Oh,
they
yeah.
can do.
Yeah, we do programs like this here, and you don't have to, like Jessica and I were talking, if you ever have a small group, obviously I love talking about this stuff. So if you have a small group and want to just say, hey, we've got a small group, can we, plan a class, then by all means, I do that when timing fit. Sundays, is it in the summer?
Sundays, Thursdays, and online Mondays.
Yeah, Sundays, I do cooking classes. He makes me do one before dinner again. But if people come in for dinner, then I can do a quick cooking demo. Sometimes I do this stuff. Sometimes I make a rosti. Sometimes it's just dumplings. Sometimes it's just something fun and easy. But it tends to be on the healthy side. And
And the next 3 workshops are on fermentation, culturing, and
through the summer, because it's easy for me to kind of do that, faster and show. So
Mm-hmm.
I do that like pre-dinner, and then interpretive dinner. We do interpretive dinners that say, hey, I did your soup like this, and this is why, and I'll give you handouts. Or I did a dinner, the appetizer had this in it, and this is why. Or the salad dressing was made with the apple cider vinegar and an essential oil. And so you get to go through phases of the dinner in an interpretive dinner, which I've been doing too.
June and October, you've got those special classes too, June and October. The special cooking programs that you do.
The week long?
Yeah, well, the weekend and the week long.
Yeah, so
programs.
we've got some weekends and some week longs, and I'm hoping to do one with the Weston Price Foundation too.
Cathy, can you tell us how you made the salad dressing for today's lunch?
Yeah, that was a recipe that I got from Sabina. That was with turmeric. So basically oil, vinegar, the recipes there were spices, but again, if you like spices, don't fuss with a recipe like, oh, I don't have that, I can't make it. Just play with the spices you have. Oil and vinegar is good enough, and lemon juice or whatever if you want to.
Now your turmeric,
dressing is in that packet that everybody
Okay.
has. Yeah.
is it a powder or is it what I'm drinking?
No, it's a powder. Right. Yeah. So we add that in.
Another idea though.
And don't forget the
And then-
online, if anybody wants to sign up, they can sign when you're doing
Yep.
online things too.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Kathy.
you're welcome.
That
No,
was
it was play with your food.
I love that. Play with your food. So, for people who are thinking of and haven't decided to stay tonight for dinner, what do you guys have?
Well, we're doing the schnitzel bar tonight. So it is one of our specialties. It's really simple, but it's organic chicken, hand pounded, dipped in egg, breadcrumbs, and spices. Or I do have gluten-free with rice flour and tapioca flour, another whole thing. And then what we do is put sauces out on the table. We've got the mushrooms with the bone broth sauce with it, because gravies used to be from the bone stock, not just from a packet. And shiitake mushrooms, which are real healthy, and veggies, so you can like build your own. We did kind of a build your own soup bar, so this is kind of build your own
Schnitzel.
Right. Awesome. So I keep telling Ernie I really want one of those Japanese tables.
Yeah.
Schnitzel bar.
That's great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.